Welcome to the Sleeping Barber podcast.
Hello.
Hey, post-pod, here we go.
Good to get that energy up, you know?
Oh my goodness. How could you not be buzzing after that conversation,
True.
Mark?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like
We say it every
insert the line
time.
here. Yeah, I really love that but I really love that conversation. I genuinely mean that. It was so
100%.
interesting. It was really, it was really fascinating. Let me start with this one, V, because
Yeah.
I thought this was shocking. Well, and you made a great point. I think we stopped recording at this point, which
We did.
often happens. But 400 KPIs is what marketers usually have in their arsenal, and they're suggesting 36
Mm-hmm.
as part of like an effectiveness palette, let's call
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
I thought that's really smart. But your point, maybe you should just make it now so we have it on record.
Have it on the record.
Yeah.
I think the problem is with us having so many KPIs, it kind of really speaks to the insecurities that we have in our ability to actually showcase our effectiveness to the business.
Yeah. I agree with you. And it's also, to me, it's one of those things where you're like, okay, there's strategy in everything, right? You've heard that.
Of course.
We've both lived that statement a few times. And so I think we get into that scenario where if strategy is about choice, and if we don't choose what metrics we're accountable for and are beholden to those, then it's really easy for us just to blow whichever way the wind or go whichever way the wind blows, because there's like 399 other metrics that we'll just make one up. If maybe there'll be 401 at the end of the day.
Well, we try to find the ones that help tell our story in that moment.
Right.
That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just shocking to me, like, to hear that there's that many metrics that on average are available to marketers.
I don't think I ever thought of what the number was, if I'm honest with you, but
yeah,
I'm not, I think the right way of saying this, like, I'm not surprised. Just think about it, like, you think about it in the context of just digital only, all the different KPIs, optimization metrics that we have. Then you start opening that aperture a little bit and start thinking about, well, okay, maybe traditional settings like NPS, and what does that look like? CSAT, and there is a lot of metrics that we're constantly floating in our heads. At the end of the day, trying to maybe either showcase how we are, what's the right word, but just staying close to like some of those to the business
like
in total
value.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Contributing value. Yeah. But the fact that we need 400 metrics, I think is more because like we're just insecure.
Yeah, and well, the other comment that we were talking about was that there's more and more specialists for good reason. Like, these channels are all different, and like search is different than YouTube, is different than TikTok, is different than radio, is different than connected TV.
100%.
So actually, somebody on one of the posts that I put up today had said, well, what about something like audience retention? I'm like, well,
I saw that.
I get it from a point of view of like content measurement, especially on YouTube, because it can show me a lot there. But on average, you're going to see a 2 or 3 second audience retention on, say, Facebook or a story style of video. So I might not use it because it's not that interesting to me on any of those other channels.
Yeah.
And it might not, I wouldn't necessarily have the ability to see audience retention on a TV commercial. So then you're left with, well, now I have specific metrics and KPIs for specific channels. And you can just see how all these things stack up and layer and layer and layer. And you're not removing any of them to focus on the business objectives. You just now are becoming more and more focused on the channel objectives.
Exactly. Well, actually, even going back to our conversation even with Avanish, and this is where the role of incrementality and measuring that becomes extremely important.
Yeah.
Right. because you want to be able to showcase, like, for every dollar that goes in, this is potentially the return on that. But you can't do that without doing those tests, having those tests in market, and really trying to, I guess, formalize it in some capacity. But it's, yeah, man, like the other one that I think that I had a tough time, and I know viewers won't see the video, but I know you and I were I felt like we were looking at each other as they were.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here? But it was 4% of CMOs believe like their role is a strategic role in a company. And yes, of course, like Kai was really quick to kind of say, like, the way the question was articulated in the survey, it wasn't one that was, I guess it didn't come up as top of mind, but Hanna's push to that was like the fact that we don't think about those roles as strategic roles in the business is a flag.
Yeah.
Because we put things like branding first, promotion, I don't remember the list, but I thought that one I had a tough time wrapping my head around. I don't know about you, but.
Yeah, and so I'm going to take Kai's word for it, because I have a printout of the, I don't know if you can see that.
I love it.
I don't know, like, there's weird things that happen when you do surveys, and I think maybe this is what Kai is referring to. But if you put a question like building brand awareness as the first thing on a list, and then go down from there, often the first thing on the list will get selected more. I don't know if it was randomized and all that kind of stuff. So I have a suspicion that there was something to do with the way that the survey was orchestrated, and that you interacted with the survey that maybe have impacted that. But the two clear winners were building brand awareness and supporting sales.
Right.
So for me, I'm just going to take that at face value and say they're the two things that everybody agrees on, which is what I think ultimately their point was. But I can see also Hanna's point in that if the format of the survey aside, if people, especially the CMOs who are filling in the survey, didn't put that their role is strategic, you could see how that would be troubling, because there's turnover is high at the CMO position.
Yeah.
CMOs are now, from their research, leading production teams, which isn't necessarily considered strategic. You're just executing, and there's almost no responsibility for price, product, or place within the remit of a CMO. So I can kind of see where her concerns are coming up there. But again, I kind of wait to see if there's a different result from a different kind of survey that shows that. But it's something definitely to keep an eye out on.
Yeah. It was, I know it caught me off guard, if I'm being completely honest, right when she mentioned it there.
Yeah.
What else did I have here? I have so many notes again.
Yeah.
The other one was the tendency to confuse and mix up between, like, the effectiveness and efficiency. I thought that was an interesting take as well, because obviously when they're not the same, especially language, if you're just listening to that. But when we're often maybe communicating any campaign that we have in market, we're likely using those words somewhat interchangeably, and there is a clear difference in what they're meant to do. Right. So I thought that was a interesting.
Like it's weird. Well, we're writing this book together of all these different.
Oh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell them.
But I was writing today, actually, on I was writing today on ROAS and ROI. Weirdly enough, I got there through the targeting section, but I don't know where the right spot is to put it. Maybe it was because of the conversation this morning. Maybe. But the idea is, like, there's an inherent principle that you target narrowly, and you're trying to optimize your budget for ROI. So this is initially I was like, well, ROI is an effectiveness metric. Like, you're trying to increase the return on your spend, your or ad spend, or a ROAS, or return on investment, ROI. So as I'm writing this thing, I'm like, okay, well, there's a natural tendency to then target people who are in market, because that's where you're going to get higher ROI, because they're the current heavy buyers in the category, not necessarily loyal to you, but they're loyal to the category.
To the category, yeah.
And it's probably not loyalty is the right way to say it. Roger Martin would say it's
Interest
more of a
or
habit.
Oh, right.
That
Yeah.
they have habits that are making them buy regularly. And so I was like, right. So then you would, if you're trying to boost your ROI, then you start targeting people who are heavy category buyers. Today, but we'll buy tomorrow, but we'll never know about you. But we'll never buy from you if they don't know about you. So I'm like, ROI is an efficiency metric.
When you play like that, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
And up until I would say today, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And it's also like when you think about it, like in the context of how misleading, especially something like ROAS can actually be, when it actually doesn't likely tell you exactly what is happening in that moment from a not even a campaign perspective, but you can have nice high ROAS, but that may just be in that one specific channel that you're able to drive conversion. So let's just use search as an example, keep picking on them, but it's I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then by like over 10, 15 years of like doing more and more of that, we've like oriented you and I met each other because they fired the entire marketing department because they were traditional media people.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want digital people.
We want digital people.
And so all of that knowledge went out the window. And then here's us going, oh yeah, we're going to optimize for our ROAS and ROI and all that kind of stuff. And like, we're driving e-com sales. And then all of a sudden somebody's like, well, what's going on in the store? You guys are killing stores. And like, there's all kinds of stuff that you just don't realize until you run into hiccups and roadblocks around how the organization has been designed and how it's leading to a problem that you may or may not be aware of at the moment.
That's hitting home right now.
The other one that I thought was really interesting, I want to get your take on this. As far as like the skills, I think this relates back to the strategy. I had a note here about driver versus supporter. Like you're either driving strategy or you're just supporting the strategy. And I think those skills are different. Like as far as the way that agencies are set up, maybe that's going back to the point that you brought up about the CMO not feeling like they're leading strategy. What did you think about that?
Yeah, no, it was interesting. Like, well, as Kai was kind of talking about that, saying like agencies outsource more than they try to specialize internally, right? So that again, I never thought about that, where you have like now on the advertiser side that they're trying to really increase the specialization. In hopes of like things like I think I brought this up in the call as well, or sorry, on the show, just around, you want more transparency, you want speed to market, you want your ability to make changes on the fly, and all of that is the reason why you're seeing a lot of these internalization projects take shape and form. Because I don't want to say like a lot of agencies, they have multiple clients, they're stretching themselves across multiple portfolios. And the perception can always be, we're not getting there quick enough, or we're not getting the information that we need. So that in of itself, I think is the, I guess, part of the skill. But I think the other part of this is to say, how far do you go when it becomes too far, right? And that's where I think there are comments around, the skills and even like the areas that we need to be improving as marketers. And I don't know if that was where you were going with the skills question, but
no, like it, yeah, it's totally where I just was an open question. I'm curious
it's
about
just
that. Yeah.
it is fascinating, and honestly, and I don't know if there's going to be a tipping point where things start going in another direction in a few years again, right? But you do see an acceleration of internalization of specialized roles more and more now than ever before.
Mm-hmm. It's also like it's really funny. I'm thinking about my wife. That's not the funny part. The funny part is like she's an accountant, and like she's upstairs. I see her all the time when I'm
That's
she's
good.
at work and all that kind of stuff. But I hear some of the conversations that they have, and they're never talking about justifying their existence
Yeah.
to anyone. Like they're just delivering a result.
Doing. Yeah.
Like which is the accounting stuff has to get done. There's a month-end deliverable, and like those
It's
are the
balancing
kinds
a
of
spreadsheet, man.
yeah.
A balance sheet. Like it has to be 0 at the bottom,
Yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah.
that's it.
Which is kind of interesting because I feel like an additional component to marketing where you have sales guy. Maybe that's part of the trust that we were talking about and part of the KPIs that we were talking about, where you have sales guys, let's say, that are going, my job is to sell. That's it. I have one KPI.
Yeah. Sales.
And then you have marketers that are being led sometimes by an accountant, let's say, who's got a spreadsheet that's looking only at the past, and they're looking at, well, we spent X dollars here and we've got Y dollars here, like in our ROAS sheet. And they're just going to take it out of there and put it into here. Take it out of there, put it into here. Cut that, cut that, cut that. There's no ROI. And then so we're inventing all these metrics around like revenue and what it is we're doing, and spending as much time, or if not more, trying to justify our existence than just delivering a result.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And remember, like I think it was Kai that brought this up as well. It's like, what are like the two metrics? And there's I don't remember. How did he say it? There's a sales side, but then there's also what we're responsible for as marketers and really trying to drive the awareness.
Right.
I think it wasn't awareness in sales.
Yeah, there's building brand awareness was one, and then supporting sales, which was like just the overall findings.
Yeah. So then when I think about those two, and like I have an example of this, like literally a conversation today was around, we have primary metrics that are really moving some of those awareness metrics, right? Then secondary objectives are really going to be around like driving, volume, order volume and whatnot. And my push to the team there was kind of like, hey, let's start thinking about these as two separate things. Like during the campaign period, you will be able to drive some level of sales, but you can't attribute those sales just to that campaign that's in market. You can say that these sales happened to happen during this time that this campaign was in market, because this campaign's purpose is really to drive these awareness tactics, these awareness metrics, right?
Right.
But I know leadership is going to make sure, like, hey, what is the loads that you're driving? So I think it's okay for marketers to talk about the sales, but talk about them in the way that it's not directly attributing to a campaign that happens in the moment, unless it's like a sales campaign, a sales specific, like it's an offer where you can
like a
drive
Black Friday thing or something.
Exactly.
Like
I think that's where that you can't use that. But I think, again, it comes down to language and how your preemptive plays a major role.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It maybe, as you're saying that, I was thinking about like a phrase I've heard before. I don't know where it came from, but intellectual honesty. And take it whatever way you want. But the way that I think about that is,
I'm taking it to the bank.
Yeah. The way I think about that is like, be honest with what we actually do. So rather than say like, oh yeah, we ran this campaign, sales are through the roof. And we all are guilty of this. It's all marketing, right? Maybe that's where this collaboration needs to happen, because it can't all be. I mean, in all reality, it's not. Yeah. It's never just marketing. It's never just sales. It's also product. It's also pricing strategy. It's also operations that get the product to where it's logistics, it's all of that. If a product's not available, if it's no longer on the shelf, you can have the best campaign in the world and it will not sell anything. So
true.
So there's a whole bunch of things that's where the intellectual honesty for me comes in. Like,
I like that.
I would even go further than say the 36 metrics and just maybe zero in on our objective is maybe two things, like brand awareness, and if you've got an e-com site. So I don't know, like maybe part of that is just being okay with doing less, which is one of his points.
Yeah,
we can't do everything. We actually don't do everything. So we shouldn't take on the responsibility of assuming that we have to be accountable for everything.
I like that. Even though I know there's a lot more constantly thrown at marketing to kind of prove and showcase and all the different levers that we can pull. Because I know the business looks at marketing as a way to engage and get messages out to market. And because we have a big toolkit that we can access, they're looking for performance, right? Yeah. But I think I like the intellectual honesty approach to say, like, this is what this in market right now is meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's another thing that after the call, I was looking up a couple, or maybe slightly before, I was looking up some vanity metrics. So the ROI, ROAS is kind of fitting into that bucket actually for me, because it's not effectiveness, it's more efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started finding all this research that exists out there. It's been out there for a long time. We had Roger on talking about promise to the customer, which made me think of it as well. But like a campaign that's built to make a promise to the customer outperforms other campaigns.
Yeah.
And it does worse at generating buzz.
Yeah.
So PR buzz, social engagement, those kinds of things. And then I found all these other studies, one from Facebook itself, saying industry research has repeatedly shown engagement rates do not correlate with outcomes ultimately used to judge the success of your marketing efforts. So clicks, while they can be a strong indicator of success for online direct response campaigns, they have limited, if not no, correlation between offline sales lift. So like there's all these things that are out there where at NPS, we had John Dawes on not so long ago. There's all these metrics that we're using of those 400. I'm like, how much of that is literally the tail wagging the dog? We're just acting and responding rationally, another Eddie Obing thing, to a world that actually no longer exists. Like that's not what is driving business results.
Optimizing everything to essentially optimize to nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's fascinating.
The more we dig, the more we get into, and the more conversations we have with a lot of these thought leaders, global thought leaders, I think it's becoming abundantly clear that, you know, we have to be careful in what we promise that we can do as a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I think I'm going to steal it, buddy. Your intellectual honesty. Like,
well, there you go. I stole it from somebody else. Feel free.
Well, mine is yours. Yours is mine.
Thought. I just read a lot.
But you know, it's really, it's almost coming full circle a little bit in the context of like, well, marketing's role is very specific. It's, you know, leading the horse to the water, right? That's what we're ultimately trying to do. What are the best way that we can do that? Well, look at the toolkit, pick what you want, and just go nuts, right?
Yeah.
Can't force the horse to drink water. That's in this case, right?
Yeah. Or even let the horse know there's a pond nearby if they get thirsty.
Right.
Like that's good.
That's good too. When you're thirsty, by the way, horsey, there's a pond off to your right there. Just putting it out there.
But that in itself is really important, because otherwise the horse wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Come back.
But like there's nothing wrong with that. Like
no.
And we shouldn't be ashamed of that. It doesn't have to be sales, because if it were up to, you know, I don't mean to pick on salespeople, I pick on salespeople.
Well, you were a salesperson, so it's okay.
Yeah. But like, you know, cold calling is a 1-to-1 job. you're not going to scale that. You need marketing to reach many. And so there's a totally different objective when you're running a plan like that and you're having a budget to reach many.
Yeah.
And you're trying to win share of mind and link a brand to a specific entry point. That's a lot of work. Like there's a lot of valuable work there.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
What a great conversation.
So good. So good. Well, V.
Yeah, buddy.
What do we got? I don't even know what we got coming up next because this is probably going to air in the new year.
This is airing. Well, this has aired now in the new year.
Yeah. I was going to say Merry Christmas, but now it's too late. But I'm early for next year.
Yes, you're definitely early for 2025. This was awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
Hanna and Kaj, thank you once again for coming on. We genuinely enjoyed the conversation, and it really made us pause and think a little bit. And I think that's important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. Okay.
See you in the next one, buddy.
Yeah, man. Let's chase profitability.
That's all we got to do.
That's
all
it.
we got.
Actually,
By the way,
mind. Like I'm warming up to that because
are you?
Yeah, because it kind of it matters.
It's the only thing that matters. And Hanna brought it up today, by the way.
Yeah, I need just to
embrace it.
How to say it?
Okay. Yeah, just get comfortable with it. Take some time.
That's what I got to work on.
Yeah, just take some time over the holidays and just work on
practicing in the mirror. Oh, this will be some really funny nights. Over the Christmas break.
That's incredible.
Okay. Take it easy, buddy.
Yeah, man. This was good.